Hey guys. All right. We all go through it. There are just tough seasons in life where things feel heavy and like the weight of everything is stacked on your chest. So today, let's chat. Let's chat about how to stay positive when life feels heavy. And I'm not talking about like this toxic positivity where you throw a smile on your face and you just pretend that everything is rainbows and unicorns. Like, I'm talking about finding real, grounded ways to navigate the hard seasons in life without losing your hope or your mind. Life gets tough sometimes, like really hard. And sometimes the hard and the hurt and the grief and the black cloud just feels like it has been sitting over you a lot longer than you thought you were equipped or prepared for. Like we've all been there. I've been there. And while sure, like I can say, yes, I'm in a good spot right now. Like my heart is so full of goodness. I can also say that my heart hurts for some of the pain and the hard seasons that I'm recognizing that others are in the middle of right now. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're in a season where like everything feels just kind of like it's piling on all at once. Work is overwhelming, home life is chaotic, and somehow, I don't know, you managed to run out of coffee creamer this morning, which really just feels like the last straw. And I'm just saying it because I've been there and I remember watching that last drop of coffee creamer unexpectedly pour out of the cup. And I just couldn't help myself but think, like, great, this can't be it. Like, this can't be happening today. Like, why today again? Why me? Like, add it to the list of things that aren't going right. So, our unjuggle today is like, how do we find light in the middle of that heaviness? And how do we stay positive without like just pretending that everything is rainbows and sunshines? Like, because we need to adopt a mindset that is going to help turn this pain and this hard season into fuel and growth and a greater purpose. Because we all know, we've heard it before, we're not meant to stay stuck in the hard. So before I keep going, I just want you to think about like that hard thing for you right now, that thing that is like weighing you down. I know we all have something. And I want you to get specific because whatever that is, like let it come to mind for you right now. Like, what's that thing? And maybe it's a job loss or you're on the brink of a big career change. Maybe it's a physical loss, maybe grief, maybe it's anxiety or depression, or maybe it's a relationship that isn't what you'd hoped for. Maybe it's financial stress. Like, allow that thing to bubble up for you because we're not going to push the pain down. Like, we're going to boil that baby up to the surface so that we can reframe it. So, for instance, for me, like something is the other day, it was actually brought to my attention how much I still grieve for the loss of my grandmother and my stepfather and my old dog, like all over the last several years. And I guess I don't actually process grief well because it has been years. And I share that because I think that sometimes, like our hard thing, it follows us around for years in the background of our lives. And I know um, that's partially what makes it so hard. That's partially what makes it so heavy. Is you almost like feel like you can't escape it. And so I think like first things first is let's just acknowledge that staying positive during tough times, like it's not always easy. And it's not necessarily just about like flipping a switch or, oh, hey, just think happy thoughts. Like when life gets hard, it's natural to push the feelings down. It's natural to feel overwhelmed or discouraged or just stuck. And then it's like easy to get into a mental groove where we do tell ourselves things like, oh, this is just how it's going to be for a while. Or like, oh, I just can't seem to catch a break. Or why does this always happen to me? Right. And those thoughts, they creep up and they are sneaky and they start to then feel like truth, especially when we put them on that record player in our mind and then it really sinks down deeper. But there's a difference between sinking into those negative lives, like, and choosing intentionally that while things are difficult in this season right now, that there can also be light. It's not an either or situation. Just because it's hard doesn't mean that there is not also light and goodness happening in your life right now. And just, I think, acknowledging simply that you can have both, that kind of feels like the first step. It's hard and I still have things to be grateful for. Or it's heavy and tomorrow is a new day. I think that one of those things that it's so difficult about like the tough seasons that we find ourselves in is that we feel like we work so hard to avoid the tough, like to avoid the storms of our lives. Like we work so hard putting in the time, putting in the hours, doing the things we don't want to, taking certain risks or not taking certain risks, trying to just be a good human. Like we work so hard to try and avoid conflict, avoid pain, avoid discomfort, avoid uncertainty, avoid fear. And yet, all of those things are going to happen to every single one of us over our lifetimes. So then, like, at what point do we realize that maybe it's not about trying to avoid the storm or even prepare for the storm? Like, here's a new perspective that I wanted to share today is that, like, what if the goal isn't to avoid the storm, but to anchor in it? And in doing so, that's when the skies would clear. And I want to say that again. So, what if we stopped trying to avoid the storm? I just got to get through this hard thing. I just have to push through and keep going until I get to the other side of this hard storm. And instead, when the storm hits, because it will, that's a life guarantee. When the storm hits, we anchor in it. Because what if, like, while life seems to be swirling all around us and on top of us, and we're not even really sure which way is up or down for us to even try and push through the storm, like, what if in that storm, we were being molded into something greater right there in the middle of it? Something greater, something bigger, something better for our lives. And this perspective of anchoring, like, I don't mean that you plan to stay stuck in your crap season forever and ever. That's not at all what I'm saying. Like being stuck is, I think, a very different choice than choosing to lean into this hard thing. So, anchoring isn't about staying stuck. Anchoring is about learning how to stay steady, learning how to keep our minds and our hearts grounded in the real truths. And sure, like maybe that does sound like a simple concept, but I think that when we're in the thick of it, that's the kind of work that takes real intention. So I'll go ahead and for today, I'll share 3 things that just help me anchor myself in truth when life just feels heavy. So the first one, number one is grounding habits. So when everything feels out of control, you need a few small grounding habits. And I want you to think of these as like your life anchors. So they are the things that remind you who you are and what matters. And they're things that are definitely like in your control. So for me, it's my morning quiet time with coffee and my journal or a book. It's reaching out to at least one person every day just to let someone else know that they're being thought of. And then leaning into my faith with prayer. Like those are 3 easy things. I control it. It takes me, however, my journaling takes me longer, or I invest more time into my journaling than I do sending a quick text to someone. But in those 3 things, it's not about fixing anything. It's about finding small moments of peace where I'm in control and where I can keep my center. So, little pro tip for you. Like, I want you to pick 3 small, simple things. Like right now, as you're listening, they could probably even be like the first 3 things that come to mind. Like, what are 3 things that you could lean into when life gets wild? and they should be doable even on your hardest days. So, don't pick something like scrolling through Instagram for an hour. That probably isn't as maybe healthy or in your control as we'd all like to think. So, like, what are three simple grounding like life anchors that you can do or you already do daily? Okay, number two, let yourself feel the struggle and then reframe it. So this one's important. Like, you're allowed to feel the hard stuff. You actually don't have to push down, like, you don't have to push it down or sugarcoat it. So giving yourself permission just to say, yeah, this is really hard right now. That's really freeing. And you're being honest and you're allowing yourself to have those emotions. And then ask yourself, like, what's the lesson here? Or how could I grow from this? Because I don't think it's about pretending that it's easy. I think it's about finding meaning in the middle of it. And sometimes that lesson is huge and profound. And other times it's just as simple as, like, oh gosh, I don't know. I need to stop saying yes to every social invite. Like, right? Both are valid. And then the third truth that I want us to hang on to during these tough seasons is just the importance of staying connected. So, especially when life gets heavy, like, the first instinct for a lot of us, especially us high achievers, is to isolate. We think that, like, oh, I just have to push through this on my own, or, oh, I don't want to bring anyone else down, or, oh, for Pete's sake, like, I should be able to handle this. Like, we feel guilt and shame for not having all of our perceived stuff together. Spoiler alert, isolation normally doesn't go well. Staying connected is one of the most powerful things that we can do. So, like, reach out to someone, just tell them what you're going through. And I don't think that it necessarily even has to be this like huge emotional conversation. I think sometimes it's simple as just texting a friend and being like, hey, it's been a rough week. Like, you give me a little motivation, or hey, it's been a rough week. Can we go grab a drink, go get coffee, something like that? And another too is, like, I know for me, another way I stay connected is through my faith and prayer. So if that's true for you too, then, like, be sure to lean into that too. We are not meant to carry everything alone. So wrapping up here, our unjuggle summary of the day is just that fact. Hard seasons are a part of life. They do not have to be a place where we get stuck in, though. And if we will let them, they can actually shape us in even bigger, better, more beneficial, brighter, lighter ways. So, staying positive in the hard moments, it isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing, right? How do we want to respond to it? So, instead of attempting to outrun the storm or just push through it, we're going to make that choice to actually lean in, to anchor in it so that we don't have to stay there. So choose three grounding habits that you can control and that remind you of the person that you really are. The second thing is to allow yourself to feel and just acknowledge the hard, and then reframe it by getting curious about, like, hey, what could be the lesson here? Or how is this storm molding me into the next version of myself? And then number three is just stay connected. We're meant to do life together. Isolation will actually keep you in the storm longer. I know, news alert here, right? So stay connected to the people and the practices that actually lift you up. And as always, I want to give you that friendly reminder that you are so much stronger than you think, and you've gone through hard things before. So you're going to get through this too. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this was beneficial to you, I hope that you like, share with a friend, all of the things. So cheers to staying grounded. And until next time, bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means a world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me, and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus writers. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.